It's the 8th of June, and this is your Monday Microdose. Welcome back, friends. A lot of things swirling around in my head right now, and I'm sure I am not alone. Put up a new blog post last week. Mostly my kind of ongoing fascination with people that have figured out how to monetize hobbies, lifestyles, things that they want to be a career, or maybe things, in the case of my friend Maynard Hershon, that were a career. Maynard's a writer, and, the publications that he's written for over the years have, kind of started disappearing. So I shared a piece that Maynard wrote for a bike publication. I can't really remember now which one it was. It may have been in San Francisco, but it's never been published anywhere. So I would invite you to go to my website and write down at the toward the bottom of the page where all the blog posts live, and check it out. And if you want to get those blog posts as I write them, I don't write them as regularly as I should, or as regularly as I was shooting for. But there's a place where you can sign up, and they'll get delivered right to your email box. So check that out, and I appreciate it, and I'm sure Maynard does as well. I want to follow up a little bit on last week's video, because as is oftentimes the case, there's things that I leave out. And that's namely that I've always, kind of viewed the bicycle as a tool. It's certainly a tool that can provide freedom. It's a tool that, can lead to, or it's a tool that can lead to exploration and discovery, and sometimes adventure. I wrote a radio ad for one of my employers years ago that basically talked about the fact that the bicycle was a vehicle for freedom, that the first time that I, and I'm sure a lot of other people, break free of the confines of their street or block or neighborhood, it's via a bicycle. And it can provide freedom, in other ways as well. Freedom of, having to have a car, freedom from relying on other people for a ride, freedom from a car payment, freedom from always being kind of at the mercy of the bus schedule, things like that. And, when it comes to that, the exploration, discovery, and adventure, when I look back on the really great times that I've had on a bike, I don't remember the bike so much. I don't think about the fact that, you remember that time that we had this great time, and I was riding this bike and it had this color tires, and man, the handlebar tape looked great. I don't think about those things, even though, again, the bike can be a tool for personal expression. But ultimately, it's a tool. And it's a tool that allows you to experience these things and to create these memories in most cases. So, that was just something that I thought about and wanted to stick in last week's video, and again, didn't. But on the topic of adventure and adventures, I got a lot of comments on the video last week where I said, do you want me to just stick to bikes, or, open it up, let her rip. And all of you said let her rip. And that's really great. And I've got stories, but we're going to ease into them. I'm not going to take you to the southern Philippines right off the bat. So I'm going to call this segment Sensible Yet Adventurous. And if that worked, I'm going to really be happy. One more time. Sensible Yet Adventurous. Okay. So back in the 90s, early 90s, there were very few people riding mountain bikes, and there were even fewer places to ride. And I have a friend, and I would say that if I was ever injured due to an outdoor activity, he was most likely responsible. I've also been visiting a chiropractor again recently, and I've always had neck issues. But back, in like October or November, it got really bad. And I remember one of the first visits to a chiropractor where, they take an x-ray and, your neck is supposed to have, a kind of a curve in it. And mine is like this, just dead straight. And the chiropractor said, well, did you ever, have any kind of an impact that was just straight on top of your head? And I went, oh, yeah. Yeah, I have. And in the 90s, this friend said, I got a great idea. We're going to go down, we're going to canoe, and then we're going to camp at this place called Haspin Acres. Now, Haspin Acres is an off-road park. Motorcycles, quads, dune buggies, you name it. It was a paradise for people that like tall boys and twisting throttles. But they also allowed mountain bikes. So we camped, and I remember being woken up in the middle of the night by somebody tearing around like the next tent over on his motorcycle, and I believe the words "payback's a bitch" were uttered as he sped off into the night. This is the kind of place we were going to ride mountain bikes on Sunday. So we're riding around, and again, early 90s, and I don't remember if the bike had any suspension, front suspension. If it did, it was a Scott Unishock, which, for anybody that ever rode one of those, they were awful. Awful. Like 50 millimeters of travel, I think, at best. But it was what was available at the time. And I'm pretty sure I had drop bars on my mountain bike. Now, this was back in the time that we all admired and bowed down at the feet of John Tomac, and for good reason. And he had gotten a part-time contract to do some road racing for 7-Eleven. And he wanted to, mimic his road bike setup on his mountain bike, so he put drop bars on his mountain bike. And so then, of course, because we're all in our 20s, a lot of us did the same thing. I ran into John, we passed at Interbike, the trade show that used to be in Las Vegas. And I think it was one of those deals where I was going into the food court and he was coming out of the food court. And I kind of said, hey. And then I said, hey, in 1991, I put drop bars on my mountain bike. And he just kind of looked over his shoulder and said, don't blame that on me. which I thought was amusing because, of course, it was his fault. So anyway, I'm riding this mountain bike with drop bars, more than likely with a stem that's way too long. And my friend says, "We're going to go down this." And I said, "Oh, yeah?" He goes, "Yeah, the Devil's Backbone." Now, I am not a daredevil. And I would say that was even more so back then. I was what you might generously call timid. And because this was an off-road park, and because it was designed as such, this thing went straight down, and then it leveled off for about this far, and then it went straight up the other side. So I'm careening down this hill, and, cantilever brakes being effective as cantilever brakes can be. I get to the bottom, and I see there's like a gully that I have to navigate my front wheel over, and I was unsuccessful. The bike came to an abrupt stop, and I was jettisoned off the front end of this bike into the uphill, head first. Was wearing a Giro Pro Light helmet, which, if any of you are as old as I am, meaning born sometime in the 1800s, the Giro Pro Light was the first kind of lightweight helmet. It was all polystyrene, styrofoam, and it was held together or covered with a Lycra cover. And that helmet was in 8 pieces. So when the chiropractor asked me, "Have you had any, impacts to the top of your head?" I could say, absolutely yes. Guys, thanks for watching. I hope you're all doing well. Now seems like a better time than ever to get out and ride your bike, should you be so able. Thank you for watching. If you think of it, give the video a thumbs up. That does help. Thanks for all the subscriptions. And if you think about it and you know somebody that might like the content, go ahead and share the video with them. I would appreciate it. Until next time, be nice, work hard, ride bikes, play music when you can. I will talk to you soon.